Are you still having lots of things affecting you today, or you?
No, I've actually pretty much 100% recovered, I would say. Like, I think my brain functions pretty good. I said, Martin's the only one that really knows that there's a couple words, like I hated speech therapy, absolutely thought they were very condescending to me. I didn't understand. Like, I was like, oh, and then, my anger would come out with that, because I was just like, they'd be like, okay, name as many dogs as you can in 1 minute, go. And I'd be like, a poodle. And then they'd be like, really? That's it?
And it started.
Yes, that's it. Like, and I'm like, oh, it was just such a killer for me. I hated that. And so I have friends who are, mostly occupational and physical therapists, but I'm like, I hated speech therapy. Tell your speech therapist not to do this, because this is the worst thing in the world.
But when in reality they were doing a fantastic job and really helping her, but she was just getting frustrated.
I was getting stuck. And so then when I got released, they said that I needed to continue the physical and occupational therapy, but I didn't need speech therapy. And I'm like, score.
Oh, that's
Which I could have used it. I could have used it.
There are, like she said, like just subtle differences. Like she said, like some of the words still. I'm like, you don't know that? She's like, or I'll be like, you don't remember one Weibo? And she's like, no, like. But it's all around that time, which at this point you could also chalk it up to like, hey, that was 12 years ago. Maybe I remember, maybe I don't. Her, one of the things that I've noticed is her handwriting's different. So she learned how to obviously do all that again. I mean, obviously we have jobs and she's fully functioning, but her writing style, like you could see a clear difference of like, it's almost like, oh, that's a different person writing that. Just if you looked at her, her signature on her license before and her signature on her license after, it's weird,
Wow.
But we kind of joke around, even though it's kind of true, that the nurse told us, hey, listen, there's now that she's awake, it's going to take some time, because she, even though when she woke up she was obviously out of it, incoherent. She had tubes that, like, she couldn't speak. She had tubes in her mouth. Her wrists were tied to the bed because she kept reaching to try to pull out these tubes. So even when she was awake, it was intermittently, and they said, hey, she may not be the same person she was.
Yeah.
And we thankfully, thank God, we make the joke like, she's actually a little bit nicer than she used to be.
For sure.
She's like, and her friends are like, oh, but she's still sassy, and we still, honestly, it is based on what we know and what we were told. Like, it's nothing short of a miracle that she had made the recovery that she did. But I remember even when she first came back, and she was okay. Like she came back and she was back to work and still living with her parents for a little bit before she was on her own, and then I moved down here. But she would still go to work, and then her workload that I remember, same workload, but I remember it being like a breeze for her. She's like, I don't know what's going on. I can't figure this out.
Oh, wow.
And it's the same work she had been doing for years. It's not like, oh, here's a new job for you. And I just remember that was like a real struggle.
Right, for sure. I ended up quitting my job. I stayed there because I'd worked at that firm for like 7 years. And I was there probably for 6 years when the accident happened. And then the accident happened, and it changed my perspective completely. I was struggling. You literally, if you're in an accident, if you're in a coma, if you have a brain injury, you have to relearn everything fresh. So luckily my mom also did accounting, so taught me that. And so then I'm like going back to work and I'm trying to reconcile payroll. And I'm like, I cannot make this make sense. I can't zero out debits and credits. And I'm like, I don't know why this is so hard, because in my head everything's easy. Can you do this? Absolutely. Can you do this? Absolutely. But then coming to do it, I could not, nothing. And then I don't even know how many years later this was, but we went bike riding, and this is many years after, but if you haven't done it, you're now relearning it again. And I'm like, I'm gonna hit somebody. I couldn't even, I had everything. It's just, I'm sure for anyone, getting on a bike is a little bit different when you're not a kid doing it every day. But for me, anything I've ever done, I have to relearn absolutely everything.
She had to take a driver's test all over again. Yeah. They had suspended her license.
No,
they tried to revoke her license permanently. And she had to fight to get that
Yeah.
back, and yeah, it was, you know,
Whirlwind.
from start to finish all over again.
Yeah.
But like we said, I mean, nothing short of a miracle. The only long-term, I know right before we put the camera on, we were just talking about this. The only long-term effect that I could really think of was her ear, and that was something we didn't even realize when she was in the coma. I mean, again, I'm not a doctor, but I would assume medically they were worried about her brain. And during that time, and it's a great hospital, so I got nothing to say bad about the hospital, but they missed a few things because they were so focused on that, which I understand the priorities.
Yeah.
But her leg was also broken, and they didn't know, because I guess they didn't, take an unconscious person into an x-ray. But so they were coming in, and a physical therapist was kind of like, moving her limbs through the body at times, and she had a broken leg. Well, later, they fixed it later when she came about, and they realized what happened. But we didn't find out until 8 years later. She had a hole in her eardrum.
Wow.
And I'm not a doctor, obviously, but the ENT was like, this isn't like a regular.
You would know when this happened.
Yeah,
You absolutely
they're like,
would
this is something as a result of like were you in an accident? Did you have a terrible fall? They're like, this is the equivalent of being hit with like something really hard in the head. It's not like, you punched your nose and blew your ears out.
Yeah.
And we're like, Ronnie, and then the minute they're like, were you in like a terrible accident? We're like, yeah, like 8 years ago. And they're like, yeah, that's it. The hole's been in your ear that whole time.
And then I lost my hearing, got surgery.
She lost her hearing, and we've had several surgeries, and it still hasn't stuck. So she still has that hole in her ear.
Right.
So I would say that's the longest term effect that we have here, which, all in all, kind of blessed to say that's the worst part.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, how is your memory now? After, like, do you still have like trouble memorizing things, or are you?
I
still,
think
like...
my memory was definitely better before, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think just with work, I would understand and got it, and then that was my job. So I'm like, yep, I don't need to take notes. I got it, like, fully. I understand what I'm doing. Now I'm very cognizant. I just make sure I'm constantly taking notes and sending emails and just referring back. And I definitely don't remember, like, before. I mean, I probably could tell you things from when I worked at this law firm from many moons ago, like their client number, this, that, like, but now if I worked on one client 10 days ago, I have no idea who it was. Like, I could find out, like, that's why I keep all my notes and everything, but I mean, my memory is not there for that stuff. Like, my personal life and everything, I think it's great, but not for, like, work.
Birthdays, you still know.
Yes,
I
know birthdays and all that.
Events for our kids, she knows. Which
Right.
is, she reminds me of things. Like, don't forget, we got it.
Yeah.
So, do you still remember lots of things before the accident pretty well?
Yes.
All right. Just after, it's like harder to remember that.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Yes.
just that like 3 week window. So like literally,
Well,
you could.
It's not even just that, because it was, I don't remember any of that.
Like
the
that
whole
window.
time I was in the hospital, like, I could tell you stories about being in the hospital, being in the rehabs, but I don't remember any
Yeah,
of
those
it.
are third
I'm
party
like,
stories.
I've heard the story so many times, so I can tell you, like, I remember, but do I actually remember? No, not at all. Like, I've just been told
But you
so much.
but you remember, like, events that you had before the accident.
Yeah. Oh no, my child. Like,
That's-
I never
that's what
lost
matters.
I never lost my childhood memories. So like,
Yeah, even like a lot of your adult
like,
memories.
even some of my friends in the hospital, like longer term friends, I knew, but I had one really close, like, best friend, and she, like, we're actually not friends today, but like, she sort of, like, I think took it to heart, like, because she's like, you looked at me like you didn't know me, and I was like, I mean, I had a brain injury. Like, I mean, it's hard to say that because, like, I put on and I would act like I'm perfectly fine. Like, oh, everything's great. But, I mean, it took, like, definitely, like, 3 to 5 years for my brain to fully heal.
Sure.
Like, I ended up quitting my job to let my brain heal more because I realized it was doing too much and I needed to take a step back so that I could move forward. So, it was good for me to finally do that.
That's really good information. It's amazing how much you're sort of like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
it's crazy.
It's amazing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would even say, like I say, I pretty much am 100%, I feel like, with my mind and everything. There are definitely a couple words that I couldn't tell him because I would practice them if I knew, but there's a couple words that I've noticed. I promise you I don't know what they are, but like I just can't say them. They're like, let's say there's like 3 or 5 words, like I just can't physically say it, like to this day. But I'm like smart enough to go around it and find like a synonym and be like, okay, like let's go on. And so I don't look like an idiot, but I just cannot use this word. Like there's that I have a little bit of. If I sleep wrong on like a pillow, if I use too many pillows, I'm going to wake up and my neck's going to hurt the next day. But like day to day, I can move, I can run, I can ride bikes, I can do pretty much anything. So that's like that's a win. Oh, I wish I knew what it was called. I think it's called the Pseudobulbar Affect, where you just either laugh or uncontrollably cry for no reason, and it's a part of traumatic brain injuries. And I mean, obviously, like I would get sad, I would cry at my own time, but I would be at work, and I would just start cracking up like uncontrollably. Could not stop. Like
inappropriate moments.
Very inappropriate moments. Like, and I just could it wasn't like something funny happened. It was just like something that I should not be laughing at, and I would just crack up. And I knew that like I shouldn't, so I'd put my head down and I'm like, please don't see me. And I'm like silently like cracking up on my own, and I'm like, it was a part of it. And I remember we had one of my friends over, and Martin was there, and I was like, tell her, and I had to walk away because I'm like, I was cracking up at something that it was like something personal with her. I don't even know what it was. It was, I mean, it looked terrible, but it wasn't. Like, it was because I had a brain injury and I was still healing. So yeah, I've definitely gone through that too. That is definitely true.
Yeah. Just, you gotta kind of expect the unexpected.
Right.
That's true.
Yep.
So do you still have all your friends from before that accident, or you lose a bunch because of the accident, you think, or?
I think she I hate to say this because I don't want to be like me, but like the ones she lost were probably better off without. Some of her friends were like, none of her friends were bad people. Mm-hmm. So let me clear that out. But like some of her friends were just like, hey, we're not in that walk of life anymore. Like we're not young party kids. Like, hey, like, that's what they were, party friends. Yeah. One of her friends in particular, I know she lost was, you don't know why. It's not like the last time I spoke to them, they were like, hey, let me know when you go down, because they live near me. Let me know when you go down. I'll go with you. We'll split a hotel room. We'll go visit Colleen, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, yeah. And then I texted them, and that was the last I heard of that person. And they were like close friends since high school.
Right.
But you can tell some of these people were just under that assumption, like, that's not Colleen anymore. That's not my friend, or they just couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle seeing that person like that. And so she lost less than 5 friends, we'll say. But more importantly, you got to see which one of your friends were truly friends, which one of your friends are acquaintances. Mm-hmm. Because, to this day, I know, which one of those people. Every time I went to that hospital, there were two visiting hours twice a day. I was there for both of them, and I got to see like which friends showed up every day, no question. Or hey, like I said, I was kind of like that liaison because I didn't want them to bother her parents about what's going on. So her friends would text me, and I'd give them medical updates because her parents would tell me what was going on. So knowing like which friends actually were there, what's going on, what can I do, how can I help, and then her parents lived up here. So you're talking like an hour distance, and they would come up and drive, and these people had full-time jobs, marriages, children, and they still would drive up here and make sure they just got to hang out. And she couldn't do anything, so they just sit on the couch just to spend time. So you lost some friends, but looking back, they weren't ever friends to begin with.
Hi, thanks for watching my video. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment, and I'll see you next time.